Hello, I'm back again doing my hoop value analysis on the 25-26 season, and today we're going to look at the SLB Women, which will complete the trio for domestic female leagues, which will give us a final ish after I checked it and played with it a little bit under 19 homegrown hype hot list. So the list you can see on the screen now, this is the rankings and the ratings for all the under 19s identified from WABL and WNBL Division 1. So we'll just be looking at the women's SLB to see who gets added. And for me, this is the most kind of exciting league because it's the highest level our under 19s get to prove themselves at. And the nature of the league does give opportunities to under 19 players. I know off the top of my head that Irene at Manchester, I think I've seen she even got some awards or recognition within the league as an under 19. So I'm hopeful there's going to be a few. I think it's a really good opportunity because the quality of opposition they're playing against to really prove, and it allows them to get higher ratings effectively because the standard of competition is better. So we've got some 3 stars from playing WNBL Division 1. It's going to be very interesting to see if anyone comes out higher than that. So, not done this for a while. Coming back to it with a fuzzy memory as always of how I actually do it. So I need to get the women's SLB stats for a start. So both the previous leagues, obviously Basketball England leagues, so they come off the same website, and the website that I'm more familiar with, having worked there, and I think at some point actually had some influence over how those pages display and what data pulls through after playing around with Genius Sports and what they're capable of doing. Okay, so the Super League Basketball Women website doesn't have an up-to-date security certificate. I know from having my own website what a pain that is to keep updated. And most people who run a website don't actually go on their own website because they don't need the information. They're kind of in the back end doing it. So it's not kind of as unprofessional as you might think. I've done it a million times where someone has to tell me, oh, your site's saying not secure or whatever, because you don't go on your own website, generally speaking, from an external user perspective. So stats for each team. I don't want the players, do I? Let's see. Okay, this is the page I was hoping would be there. It's probably in a slightly different format than the one that I was able to edit. So let's see how we go. Okay, let's just bang that in as is. Format the other ones. Okay. So if you watch the other videos, you obviously know the kind of nature of this content. So if you've clicked on this video expecting entertainment and big energy and stimulation, you're not going to get that here. Sorry. Go watch some highlights or something of great British basketball players. This is about me just recording my process and showing how I analyze stats across British basketball, how I put myself in a position to know the names that I should know to then go and promote on social media, and obviously to show exactly how Hoop Value works, which is the service I've now, taken seriously and doing as a business, and sadly having to make money from rather than just give to the game. So yeah, these are long form videos of me doing exactly what I do with no kind of editing or cutting to the more interesting bits. It's just me jabbering on while I do it. Um, but the end result at the end of the video is what everyone wants to know: who are the best players, and who are the best players objectively using this amazing hoop value algorithm that I designed. And I'm so proud of, because it did something that I felt for a long time was impossible: a way of objectively evaluating, ranking, rating players, projecting what they can do at the next level. So it's really exciting to start to share this with the world. But I'm not going to try and dress it up as some super smooth, professional, automated thing. It's not that yet. With some money coming in, some investment, it can become that. But right now, you're seeing the origin story of Hoop Value and kind of behind the scenes of Homegrown Hype. And as soon as I start talking, I get distracted. Sorry about that. Some percentage efficiency team and all that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 columns. That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns between player and games. Tell me how many columns. I'm assuming that includes the hidden ones. That's 8. Will this copy the hidden headers? I don't know, particularly as I'm not going into that one. Like I've got one too many there. CD -PH. And that's going to be hoop value score under 25 score. Now, I'm aware that I could do the vast majority of this stuff offline, but I feel like recording it means I'm more likely to do it. It kind of holds me more accountable, and it just feels more interesting in some way. Why have I not got the percent? Oh, so the Basketball England site, I must have added the true shooting percentage and effective field goal percentage thingamajigs. True shooting percentage, effective field goal. So I've got those, but they don't have those on either the totals or averages, so I can't replicate that. I wasn't sure if I was going to do anything with that. I think I guess you can calculate them if you know the formula, but that's not really something to worry about today. I'll put the headers in just to remind me to look into it at some point, because I have like a vague idea of something I could do with those two stats as like a boost to someone's kind of default rating if they're kind of identified as a high-end shooter. But I probably never did that previously because I couldn't get consistent stats across all leagues. But I say I would assume it's very possible if you know the formula for effective field goal percentage, true shooting percentage. So average efficiency, so it's always going to be that column and that column, but the row will change every time. Does that look right? Efficiency divided by games, right? Making sure someone has over. So all these efficiencies look quite low to me. That is total efficiency, isn't it? 80 divided by 15. 5.3. Okay, I'm assuming that's correct. Delete that. And this is completely unnecessary, but I'm just one of those people that has to do it every time, so everything looks neat and tidy. Okay, so that was the basics. Can't do anything with that. I'm going to want a filter for later. How do I move this thing? Freeze payments. Right, now the lookup things. So I did the list of players, so I know what team they play for, and then the league table with the percentages and teams. Let's see if the SLB presents the same information. So it's going to be clubs. Go to clubs. So that last game up there was 17th of May, so I'm assuming the finals just happened this weekend and completely bypassed me, which is normal because I don't really do social media apart from like young up and coming talent. So Sheffield are the SLB playoff champions, I'm assuming. So I'm assuming the men's SLB would be the same weekend. I don't know who won that either. I feel like London Lions were in the final. Who else did I see? Was Cheshire in the final? I feel like I saw that somewhere. So it's going to be roster, isn't it? Okay. Oh, okay. So this is huge. We get date of birth on the SLB website, which we don't get on the BE websites. And nationality. Okay, there's going to be dual nationals for sure. Like I've never heard of Greece. Depending, you can tell from the stats usually if they're kind of imports. But anyway, that's not for right now. So copy that, and then I have to put the team next to them. See, you've got these weird double name things again. Why is that happening? Oh, it must be the pictures. That makes sense why it only happened for certain people on the BE site, because probably most of them don't have pictures. Okay. Just trying to think if there's a quick way. I'm just trying to think how I can correct that without going through every individual line and deleting them. You can't do a find and replace. Don't know. That's not going to be fun. And then has it got? You'd think it would have the name of the team on here, no? So they don't have the name of the teams, they just have the logos, and then they don't have the name of the team on the actual team page. Like I know Sheffield has, but I'm assuming they have some official name for the league table, and I want to make sure everything matches to avoid any faff later. Okay. Okay, so that's all one team done. Very pleased that this isn't a massive league, so it hopefully won't take that long. I'm not looking forward to doing a men's Division 1 as it is now, because that's going to be a beast. I always do that. Who is this team? Caledonia. To be fair, it's literally the Sheffield House that have a slightly different name. Manchester Basketball, I maybe wouldn't have predicted. Caledonia done. Don't need the headers. My memory is horrendous. Literally copy paste and completely forget which team it is. Cardiff didn't win a game, damn. Okay, Essex Rebels. Let's try and hold that in my head. Leicester Riders. I feel like if I say stuff out loud, there's an off chance of it staying in my head like 5 seconds later when I need it. Yeah, my brain is still wanting to figure out how I'm going to separate these names. London Lions. How do they do? Mid-table. Interesting. Manchester. Is Georgia still playing? Hell yeah. Lauren Thomas Johnson playing as well. I love it when players just kind of like are still going or come back. Hopefully it means love of the game is still there and they have a somewhat decent situation with the club. Definitely a tough sport to give up, basketball. I've technically retired from playing in the last year, but I kind of know I'll be back at some point. Well, I only ever played pickup pretty much on my own session that I ran anyway, so it's not really a big deal. Might be done with competitive basketball. Like, I definitely still want to be on a court, shooting and enjoying the beauty of the game, but I think I wanted to go back, at least for a while, go back to it being fun, like playing outdoors, where it all started for me, playing on one hoop at my school's playground, car park. I think the love of the game can be very difficult to maintain, especially in this country, without having to whinge about anything. That's just the way it is. There's not a lot of reward out there for what you put in. But I was doing way too much. I was running a session, or a club, I was running a developmental session for adults, which was like, like an hour and a half a week, but it's still one of those commitments that can feel like more of an obligation than a hobby. I was also doing day round basketball, which had a few had donations through Patreon, so I was technically getting money from it, but the time I was putting in was insane. And then obviously working for Basketball England, which no kind of taking shots at them, but literally any mostly government funded organisation is going to underpay their staff, and not to say underpay their staff, but again, it's passion of the game. So what I would put in, it wasn't like, I get paid this much, so I'll put in this much effort, like to represent and relate to my pay. It was, you care, you love the game, you work with amazing people, you want to see it do well, so you give a lot, and that's not the job you took on, so it's your own damn fault for doing too much, but that's where passion gets you, right? Opens walls. I think overgiving is common in British basketball because you love the game, you want young players to have an amazing experience, you want things to just get better in this country and play a part in doing that, but man, it can suck the life out of you when you overgive and you're trying to balance the same things everyone else is trying to balance with time and money and energy, health. I'm hoping Hoop Value will address some of those problems for me personally, and finding a way to still do the essence of what I do, the homegrown hype, the player promotion, but in this really fair, everyone evaluated in the same way, completely objectively. My opinion doesn't come into it whatsoever. Still doing this kind of stuff. With the Hoop Value thing obviously makes me money, but I still want to stay true to the kind of homegrown hype, Dave Owen basketball stuff, which is just about getting names out there. Hoop Value just lets me do it in the fairest way possible. Okay, so I have a problem with the names for sure, but let's do the league table next because that's simple. Again, they don't have the win percentage. I don't like this whole British points thing. It feels more like football than basketball, but we always have that. People are used to the NBA and how that kind of covers the game with league tables and how it presents information. So it's a tricky one, because do we match the NBA because that's what the majority of people in the UK that are into basketball watch, or do you keep it British and maybe more aligned with other British sports? So what do I do on the other league tables? Literally just team and win percentage is all I need, isn't it? So win percentage is just going to be wins divided by games, isn't it? Okay, so this page now needs to know which team each of those names plays for, and then from the team we can get the win percentage. But these player names are not going to match the other player names. I haven't figured out how to do this. I really don't want to go through every single one of those and manually remove it, but it might actually be quicker than trying to look it up and find some funky formula. The other option would be duplicate the names on here, which is probably the quickest way to do it. So if I do that, oh, see, they're not even in the comma format, are they? Oh, that's even worse. Because all of these are in the same surname, comma, first name format. So this is actually even more of a nightmare. Ooh, 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 ooh. That could be an option. That ain't gonna work because they're not in the right format. So I reckon if we do text to column separated by spaces, it will remove the block in the middle and just leave me with that one, and then I'll just have to like reverse it. I never really intended for these videos to be kind of an exchange, because people can obviously comment with better solutions than I come up with in the moment, but it can be some very useful shared learnings about Excel methods to format data, I guess. So if I want surname in there, so I make sure all of that is first name and all of that is surname, then we should be able to get somewhere. But if anyone knows the person who's able to change how the SLB Women's website is formatted, I'd love a conversation with them to make this easier. Josie. Okay, that's a whole lot of names. I don't know where the first names and surnames start and end. There must be repeats either to give me a clue. I'm going to do my best guess here. Sorry, Josie, if I've got your naming convention wrong. Irios Momodu's playing in the SLB Women. Hannah Shaw. Absolute legend, just for anyone who doesn't know. As a person, obviously as a player goes without saying, but as a human being. Okay, so that should be a pretty clean first name and surname. And then we can just do surname and speech marks, comma space, first name, boom. So all those look about right. Actually, that would tell me her name on the screen. Or not. Apparently she's on a roster but didn't play a game, so it won't matter anyway. So that should be right now. See, shouldn't shirt number really be jersey number? Don't wear shirts in basketball. And yes, you can wear an undershirt before anyone wants to correct that in the comments. Right, so I need team to sit next to the player name, and then I can look up the players. It should give me the team. Apparently not. H2 next to Y. Well, that ain't make no sense, does it? Let's see if the whole formula doesn't work. Okay, so some of them work, but some of them don't. So X to Y, 140. Definitely looks at the right place. How many teams on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so all 10 teams do show up. Are these all players? They can't all be players that left during the season and are not appearing on the roster anymore, surely. Because that's a lot of players. 84 out of 144 not appearing. Okay, so Chokwu. How is Chokwu not appearing on a roster, but she's in the stats? Okay, let's use her as an example. Okay, so she played for, that's 24, 20. Oh, am I on the wrong season with the stats? Okay, that's not my fault. They've set last season as their default on this page, which is, yeah, poor administration. At least there's a logical answer for it. I didn't think that I would have to check whether it's the league's on the same season when the season's actually finished, but I know how easy it is to forget to do these minor little things, and it's not the easiest thing to edit the hosted solution with Genius Sports. So yeah. So we now know that quite a lot of players that played last season played this season. I'm assuming I have those players already. But this is now going to be a pain. Alright, so we're just going to have to do this all over again. Player to there. Efficiency to there. Points to there, I think. Gains minutes, then points. Hopefully I can just copy everything in that way from the averages. Double check 25, 26 season. Okay, that fits. Less players, but it's probably because Durham were in the league last season. Okay. I'm going to need total efficiency. I'm not convinced I did the efficiency right last time, you know, because those have got like 26s and higher 20s, whereas the other ones all look low to me. Okay, so we've got efficiency. Down it's those 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so most of these have now picked up. We've still got some odd ones. Okay, Brack is not listed on a roster. They played too many games to not appear. Okay, 25, 26. Okay, so she played for Manchester. So why is she not listed on the Manchester roster? make it make sense. She's right there. So how did that not copy across when I did the Manchester roster? Is this seasonal as well? This is very confusing. So where's the Manchester roster? Is this just wrong? Probably last season's rosters, I'm guessing. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. But it still picked up the vast majority of them. Yeah, it's probably quicker to just do it this way, isn't it? So if I just add each one that's missing, because I'm still going to need their ages and stuff. Oh, I still have to do this nonsense as well. Yes, because teams now in a different place. Man, they don't make this easy. Jory Davis. To know who you play for. So she played for Manchester as well. It would have been helpful to stay on them. East. Okay, this must be a bit of a trend. So they're all missing from Manchester. Did I somehow only get the out-of-date roster for Manchester? Because that's bizarre. Irene's definitely Manchester. So all of these missing players are Manchester. I'm not sure how that happened. Even stranger. So 25, 26. Current table Willis is there. I did warn you this wasn't going to be a smooth professional video with the coughing and the voice pretty much going. Was it F6? Yeah. Who else are we missing? Charlie Rowe. Is she Manchester? I haven't got that open anymore. Well, not much of that made any sense, but I think we got there. Let's move team next to name. Forgot to change the names, I bet. Yep. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so eventually everyone has a team, and we should now be able to get win percentage. Okay, so women percent energy efficiency team all in there as text rather than formula. Might as well get age and nationality up. Date of birth might be better, but I'll come back to that. So my assumption is on these Genius Sports website that the age is as it is today, and then you've got kind of like, I don't know how it is for the SLB leagues, but with the BE leagues, it's like based on the age you were on like the 31st of August when the season started, basically, in terms of like eligibility, whether you're classed as an under 19, under 18, under 17, etc. And then obviously for national teams, it's based on your birth year as opposed to your birth date. So it's always been something that's been a bit complicated to get my head around for various purposes. So this kind of initial under 19 list is a lot of kind of best guess because I can no longer get date of birth accurately for kind of everyone because I don't have access to the BU systems anymore. Kirsten Heach, I feel like I've heard of her before. Okay, so if you haven't watched the other videos, what happens now is I fill in the hoop value scores. So you get a generic hoop value score regardless of your age. It's just a senior competition and it's based on your performance level and value within that league. And then if you're under the age of 25, it gives you a projection of what your score could be when you're kind of fully developed at the age of 25, and then same for under 19, so it gives you like an assumed level of growth per year before you hit the upper echelons. But this is where I stop sharing my screen and do those calculations without sharing them, because then I'm giving away exactly how hoop value works, and then you could all just go off and do your own calculations and you wouldn't need hoop value as a service. Okay, so I now need to remember how to do this, and I need to not talk about what I'm doing to give it away. I'm not a naturally secretive person, but it's necessary for business, right? Also not good at talking and concentrating on things. Okay, we are nearly there, but it's one of those things I have to concentrate on because it's very important to get it right. Otherwise, all of these videos are pointless because they're working off bad formulas, right? So I've done the scores. I'm just figuring out the ratings now and then how to kind of present it to you guys. Okay, we'll get in there, I promise. Okay, so that's the kind of matrix for the hoop value ratings and what they actually mean for projections to the next level done. So now I just need to convert the scores to the ratings. Okay, hit a glitch with one of the ratings, but I should be able to fix that pretty soon. Okay, I think I can now share my screen again after a very long journey. So this is the WSLB stats. So the hidden columns have got the 3 scores. The default hoop value score, that's what it's sorted by. So ignoring age and any other factors, this is literally a ranking of the best players objectively, statistically in the league. Obviously, you've got anomalies like people who play 1 game and 5 games or whatever, and then the role based on the kind of thresholds of the various scores. We've got 7 stars and 17 standouts, and then into your quite a small number of performers and contributors, interestingly, but it's quite a small league, isn't it? But the important bit is the ratings. This is what we're here for. This is what we're interested in. So let's see if this is actually right, because I didn't bother to check. So the star players in the women's SLB come out as a 1.5. So I just want to make sure, is that actually right? That's the college matrix. Nah, see, that ain't right. I've obviously copied that. Yeah, I've copied the formula from Division 1. So yeah, it's doing the same ratings as Division 1 because I'm an idiot and didn't bother to change it. Okay, so we'll stop sharing and quickly correct that. Apologies. This is not something I do every day, so I'm still figuring it out how to use the formulas without messing it up. So the scores are correct, it's just the ratings that are wrong. So look at that. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. These formulas are tricky because they vary by each league. It's not just like a generic hoop value one that works across the board. I should probably build a formula that is exactly that. That is a 1-day task, but I feel like doing something really complicated, which is rare. Okay, nearly there. See, it used to be easier because I would drop the stats into the historical spreadsheet that had all the previous seasons, so all the layout is fine. I just copy the formulas down. That's what I've got slightly wrong, I think. Okay, that looks like it makes sense now. So I need to hide the score columns and hide the formula bar. and then come back to you guys to share. Okay, so now we're saying a star player in the women's SLB should be a 2.5 star player. We check that against the matrix. That is correct. 2.5 star there. WBBL SLB there. Okay. So what we want to do is update the under 19 hot list with anyone who's been outstanding in the WSLB. And this is what we're hoping for, to beat those 3 stars from Division 1. And yet, no surprise, that was the name I was expecting to see. And she's definitely under 19. She's definitely British because she played for GB. So, Irene. So, I'm trying to remember, did she not play enough games in? Yeah, she only played 2 games in WABR, which makes perfect sense because I don't really see there's any benefit to her playing at that level. So she just comes in clean at number 1. No doubt about it. Beautiful. So we have a 3.5 star player. So what does that mean? What does 3.5 star mean? This is why I spent some time faffing around just to give you this matrix. This is obviously like pretty and ready for graphics. I have the fancy version on my desktop, but that's actually the men's one, so it's not useful here. So basically, if we look at the data, we're saying that Irene, purely taken as a women's SLB player regardless of age, is a 1-star player, so she contributed at this level. And in the kind of senior women pro game, a 1-star would say basically stay where you are while you develop, because your projection, if you moved up a league outside of the UK, you'd probably be a non-contributor. But that's taking her as if she's already a senior player. The under 19 rating is saying, well, she's doing this now in a senior league as a 17-year-old. Let's project what she would do once she's 25 and had those 8 years or 7 years, or whatever it is, around her date of birth to develop. And that's what gives her the 3.5 star. That's the projection. So a 3.5 star player, if we stay in the realm of the women's SLB, you're beyond it. Like, you should not be in that league. Now you can only be a star in that league. So no matter what she did statistically, she could break every record going, and her team could win every game. She'd still be capped at a 2.5 star player playing in the women's SLB because of the level of competition. Because even the best players can only justified be given the 2.5 star rating. But we're saying she has the potential to be a 3.5 star player. So she, I believe, has committed to a college in the States, and this would actually be quite interesting to look into. So Hoop Value projects her as a 3.5 star player. One thing I'd kind of forgotten about, because I was going to do it later and I wasn't sure how I was going to go about getting the data. If players are over a certain height minimum, they just get an extra half a star, just because that's the way the market is. Basically, height is valued more. So I think off the top of my head, I've not done this for age, I think for women it's 6 foot, and I think for men it's 6'8". I think that's what I put in. I don't think Irene is 6 foot and above. I think she's more a guard, but we can probably Google that. So an AI mode. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know how to spell her name, I'm afraid. I'm assuming Yeah, it's a 5'10", so she stays as is on her rating. She doesn't get a boost. I mentioned earlier about like the true shooting percentage, effective field goal percentage. I'd like to have something around some kind of threshold of if you're above this threshold across those two stats, and maybe 3 point in there somewhere as well. Maybe you get a half star, but I haven't figured that out yet. The one I'd love, but it's just not possible because the data isn't kind of consistently recorded, is something around athleticism. So the typical kind of like combine E type stats. So vertical, an obvious one might be wingspan, might even be involved somewhere in this kind of height one, but probably aligns with height more. But yeah, like the vertical, obviously you can do like agility and sprints and all sorts of stuff like that. But just setting that threshold is basically saying if you are a standout athlete, if you're above a certain height and wingspan, if you're above a certain minimum for being an effective shooter, you should get another half star. But those are all kind of like nice to haves. The only simple one I can do, because pretty much every basketball player has their height who's trying to get recruited, has their height out there somewhere, even within British basketball where information is not readily available. So we're basically saying, as is, Irene stays as a 3.5 star projected player. So now I don't remember where she's signed in my head. I can picture an orange jersey, maybe, but I don't remember. I'd be interested to look that up. And even if I did remember the name of the college, I wouldn't know which of these kind of hoop value tiers they sit in. I know you've got typically got high major, mid major, low major. I go a bit deeper than that to incorporate D1, D2, JUCO, NAIA, and hopefully you can see from the titles kind of how they work. You've got D1 high, you've got mid plus, as in mid major, mid, and then you've got D1 low, JUCO high, and D2 high, all together at the same kind of level there. Then D2 low, JUCO low, NAI high, then NAI low, and then other like Canadian colleges and kind of other levels of college basketball. So we're saying that a 3.5 star potential British prospect like Irene could contribute at a high major and could be a standout at a D1 mid plus. So in an ideal world, you generally would want to be a performer, but because I think, and I'm happy to be corrected on this by experts, I think rather than the kind of typical one step jump on the ladder, I think high major is kind of 2 steps up. I think that the separation between D1 high and mid plus could be kind of 2 as opposed to 1 steps, but I could be wrong on that. I'm certainly not a college expert, and all of these tiers and systems has been done with consultation. It's not my opinion with any of this college stuff because I don't exist in that world. So same with the senior leagues. So if Irene wasn't going to college and she wanted to go just straight into the senior pro game, well, and obviously after college it's the same matrix, it works. So let's say she skips college or she goes to college, whichever way, 3.5 star player, again, you can contribute at the very highest layer, WNBA, EuroLeague. So when we get a 3.5 star player proven, and the only way of getting a 3.5 star as a woman in this country is playing women's SLB, if you're playing in this country. I guess if a WSLB team was in European competition, you could actually get a higher rating. But I can't think of an under 19 that's played in Europe for a senior pro team in this country. There may be some that I'm not thinking about, but no one jumps to mind that's done that. But what we're saying is Irene, 3.5 star, she probably got the highest rating you could get without playing in Europe, potentially. And it's saying her projection is you can contribute at the highest level of college basketball and you can contribute at the highest level of senior basketball once you're kind of 25. That's not kind of today. She can't go and play EuroLeague and contribute today because obviously today, as we saw earlier, she's a 1 star judged as she is right now, so she's a contributor at the SLB level, but at 25, she could be a contributor at that level. And that is as exciting as it gets because that is the top level of basketball, and let's hope she gets there. So the financial situation of women's basketball improves year on year, and it's a more lucrative situation to be in by the time she gets there. But yeah, that's what I was expecting to see. Irene at the top without following the game all season. And this is not an Irene entire video, but you know, she is the name that's come out on top, so it's worth spending some time talking about her. So we have another under 19 who also rings a bell as a GB international, I think, Tiana Chambers Desmond, who comes out as a 3-star, so we're still talking serious potential. Do you kind of want to look up which tier the college Irene has signed for is actually in? So let me just do that out of curiosity to see if she's at a high major and therefore kind of in the right situation. I guess because there isn't a level where 3.5 can be a performer, like that doesn't exist if we assume high major is 2 steps above, then I feel like a contributor at high major is probably better than being a standout. Like that'd be better for your kind of ego and exposure and stuff, but being in a high major, and obviously this is an objective system-based projection. There's nothing to say she can't be a performer at a high major if she exceeds the expectation, right? Because who knows? Right fit, right system, all the intangibles, you know, coach that trusts her, adjusts to living in America, all of those things. Let's hope she comes out as a performer at that level. But I do want to see. So which college and conference has she committed to for next season? So the Secs are high major, right? Like, I don't really trust my memory when it comes to this stuff. But if I go to my league matrix here, yeah, Secs actually ranked as the second best behind the ACC. So that's serious level. Okay, so it's always reassuring when, you know, who value projects a player as being at a certain capable of producing at a certain tier of college basketball, and then the college they sign for actually sits in one of those tiers, and you think, okay, that's good. Because if they come out as like a non-contributor in a D1 mid plus, you think they'd probably be better off dropping to D1 mid, a different college, and being a contributor. Yeah, so it's always reassuring to see that, and it gives me some faith in the hoop value system. So I might actually make a note of who's committed where. So what am I saying? It's a D1 high. D1 high sec. What's the college called? Tennessee. Do projected role as well, that would be interesting. See, I've got contributor with an E throughout all of this, but I feel like it's an O. There we go. Yeah, it is with an O. Okay, so let's look at our 3-star. So obviously a 3-star that's got that rating from SLB rather than Div 1 comes out higher. Was it Chambers? Oh, she's already there. Okay. So she came out as a 2-star in WEABL, so probably completely smashed that league, I'm guessing. Yeah, she came out top on that league. And then Irene was second, but with not enough games to really factor in. And you got to think that win percentage probably would have been higher if Irene had played all of their games. They might have been undefeated, and Nottingham were nearly undefeated with their star player, so it makes total sense. Um, yeah, so that makes sense that she got the best rating she could possibly get from WABL, but standard of the league caps it at 2, and she plays in the WABL and she upgrades to a 3. So, but she might be a 6-footer, which might put her up to 3.5 alongside Irene. So, can I copy these? Already forgotten her name. Tiana James Desmond. Okay, 6263. So she gets a boost. Height boost. And then has she committed anywhere? Okay, so UNCG. They're in the SOCON conference. I'm sure there's so many people who, as soon as you say a conference, are like, ah, yeah, that's a really high program, really low program. I don't have that knowledge yet. So SOCON. Wait. So Southern Conference is a D1 mid. Okay, so she's a 3.5 star. It's like with the height boost, she's the same rating as Irene, and she's gone 2 tiers below. So so she's here, D1 mid, and she's a 3.5 star. So she can be a star at that level, and probably should have gone up a level to mid plus. So that's gonna be very, very interesting to see how she performs and whether she transfers up. But I guess if you want to play straight away in your freshman year, there's no harm in going and being a star right off the bat. If you can, prove it and earn it, and maybe move up. Be interesting to watch. So yeah, be interesting to see. It's rare that you get someone projected as a kind of star role. I guess this is the first year I'm doing this kind of properly, or so it was the first time I've looked at it in this way. So we got some 2.5 stars. She's played for GB, hasn't she? With like Icelandic heritage, but she's played for one of the junior teams, I think. So is she already on here somewhere? I feel like she didn't play enough game. Yeah, one game. Same deal as Irene, not really playing in that league. So she's a 2.5. To be fair, I need to check the height for all of these players. I've only checked the height on the SLB ones. Like, I'm pretty sure Helly Sol is very tall from memory. I think she's one of the taller players we've had on the junior teams. But I'll just do the SLBs for the purpose of this video, given I've been recording for ages now. Yeah, over an hour and a half. Sorry about this one, but I had some technical and data and website source data issues. So has she? Let's check her height and thingamajig. It's the first time I've used AI for seeing where players have committed. That's very helpful. a lot of sense to make it one question, wouldn't it? She's 6'1", Big East, Georgetown. I don't know. So she's 6'1" as well. So we got to give her a bump to a 3. And so she sits above that well, comes in a 3rd. Makes sense. And Georgetown, Big East. So which tier is the Big East Conference in? Yeah, I thought it was D1 Mid Plus. It was a strong one. So she's D1 Mid Plus. Okay, so if you're a 3-star player going to a Mid Plus, performer, which is the perfect role in my opinion in most cases. You're performing bang on the level. You know, if you're standing out in star, you should be thinking about maybe moving up, but performers bang on. So that feels like a good fit for her at Georgetown. Beautiful. Goes to show you recruiters know what they're doing. Like recruiting players at the right level where they can actually play, you know, a good role that fits. Okay, so what's the other name? Ella Wright at Sheffield has. I don't recognise that name. Which is no shade on anyone whose name I don't recognise, it just means they've not hit my radar from like probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I'm very out of touch. Does Sheffield have a WABL team? Yeah. So did she play for it? All right. No. Interesting. So why she is an under 19? Would she not play for that team? She's listed as British, I assume she wouldn't be an import. She's 17. Okay. So Ella Wright is a 2.5. See if she's tall / assigned. Okay, so we don't have. So I would have thought her height would have been listed if she played All-Star Classic. I would have thought that would be on her on like their roster list. I mean, I can just assume she's not 6 foot plus, but it'd be handy to know. And they don't have. They have position, but they don't have height. I guess they probably struggle to get that information. Makes sense. And she's listed as a guard, so we can make a reasonable assumption that she's not 6 foot plus. And so she's listed as class of 2027. Just helpful to know. And then the 2 stars. Yes, I'm not 100% sure whether those 2 stars are like genuine. Let's see if anyone played. Somebody should have played for Charm, shouldn't they? Because I have a feeling that because the lowest rating you can get in the SLB is a 0.5. They might just be being sort of gifted a 2-star at under 19 literally for turning up. So yeah, if you play like 3 games in 3 minutes, you get a 2-star. And if you actually, have a little bit of an efficiency and have played reasonable minutes, albeit on a not very strong team, you're still getting it. So like you're just defaulting into a 2-star, so it's not really a valid rating to factor in. And yeah, so there's Ophelia, Lada Lee. So she's got a 2-star legit from WABL, I presume. Yeah, so she did well, but she's playing good minutes, but yeah, she's just defaulting into that 2-star rating, so I'm not going to factor those in. Okay, so that's basically it. So that is the domestic women's leagues done, and that is not quite the final under 19 homegrown hype hot list, because I do need to go through and check the heights on other people. We're pretty sure Diorama doesn't have a British passport, so she's not eligible for the homegrown hype list. And we think Elena possibly not as well, but those are going to be tricky to confirm, because obviously the nationality listed on the website could have been a mistake. It could be dual national. There's a lot of complications with that. But the homegrown hype thing is basically you have to have a British passport and have played junior basketball in this country. Those are my two criteria, because then it takes out Americans that have a British passport but have come over, as a professional, and that's the first time they played in this country. And then obviously you've got people who have lived in this country their whole lives, but they don't have a British passport. So yes, they may identify as British, but in terms of being able to represent our national teams, which is what the homegrown hype is all about, they would be eligible to if they went through the process, not a passport, but they can't physically represent the national team without a passport. So that's the detail on that. So next time we'll kind of tidy that up, and then I'll kind of go through what I do with that information now. So now that I know, okay, these are the names, these are the under 19 names that I need to be aware of, then it comes to the social media content and how I kind of do my best to support them and give them exposure. Obviously, these videos are long form, going through the long process. It's obviously probably not going to get massive traction, but some people will just skip to the end and get the names, and that's fine. But I'll do other stuff on social media to get these names out there. But yeah, that is it for this time. And my plan is that this hot list for the women, I've given you the hoop value ranking for free. I've given you the hoop value rating for free to completely show how hoop value works without revealing the way it's scored and the formulas and the secret sauce. But I wanted to use the women's game to basically give away the value of what hoop value offers, to show how it works in reality. And then when I come to do the men's hot lists, I'm thinking I'll give the names away, but they won't have their ratings and they won't be ranked. They'll be A to Z. So it's like, these are the names you should be aware of. So go watch them and be aware of them. But if you want to know the rankings and the ratings, then let's have a conversation about the Who Value paid service. That's kind of the way I felt. I find it hard. I find it hard to balance me wanting to get these names of young British players out there and finding a way to make it a sustainable business rather than something like Demo Basketball, which I try to do technically for fun in my free time, but then it became an absolute juggernaut that took up way too much of my time and energy. So I'm trying to find a way to serve British basketball in a sustainable way, which has been the challenge for God knows how many volunteers for the entire history of British basketball, right? So it's nothing new. We'll see how it goes, but I will always be putting something out for free and trying to support young British talent in some way or another. But the hope is that Hoop Value really takes off. And if it really, really, really takes off, then we can start talking about investing in sponsoring British basketball. That's the real dream. Um, but yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I'll see you next time.